and welcome to my new video. Today I'm going to talk about the habits that sound obvious, like sleep, eating well, or doing your exercise. You've heard them a million times, but I'm not here to just hand you a list of do those habits because they're good. Instead, I want to show you the actual benefits and the science behind them, so you can understand how exactly those habits are going to change your life. Why is it important? Well, recently I finally started to read a book called Atomic Habits that I wanted to do for so many years, and even in the first few pages, author was able to put my thoughts that I had for so many years in just one nicely worded sentence. It's hard to change your habits if you never change the underlying beliefs that led to the previous behavior. And one of the best ways to change your underlying beliefs is to educate yourself on what are exact consequences of doing or not doing the habit. And why am I convinced it works? Quick personal story. Back in the past, I couldn't force myself to sleep on time. I always found some tasks that sounded much more interesting than sleep, and because of that, I always sacrificed my sleep hours. But a couple of years ago, I read the book Why We Sleep, which explains the science behind this process, its negatives, benefit, all in simple language. After that, for a year, I had the most consistent sleep schedule of my life. And I didn't even have to force myself to do it. I simply couldn't neglect those habits after I read how important they are. Another thing that I want to say is, as you can see on my channel, I'm not a doctor. I'm simply sharing the knowledge that I gained throughout my life by reading books or research papers. If you don't believe me or information that I'm telling, I don't judge you. It's okay. I'm going to cite all sources that are used for this video and put them in the link below. If at any point of the video you're questioning the information, I'm encouraging you to check out the links. But for now, let's start with the habits. If I had to tell you about only one habit and finish the video, it would be sleep. But not just sleep. High quality sleep. The basic rules of Sleep 101 are: dim the screens of your devices and use the warmer tones, avoid big meals, alcohol and caffeine before sleeping, consider taking a warm shower before bed, and keep your room cool, quiet and dark for the whole night. And the first thing you should do in the morning is expose yourself to the sunlight. All those habits make a big impact on your sleep and well-being. But if I would explain each of those habits in depth, this video would be more than 30 minutes. So let me know in the comments if you want a deep dive video about sleep, but for now I'm going to cover the basics, the 7+ hours of sleep and constant sleep schedule. First of all, getting less sleep reduces your immunity and increases the chances of getting cancer drastically. When you sleep less than 6 or 7 hours, your body produces less killer cells, the white blood cells that protect your body from the viruses and cancer. Therefore, the reduced amount of those white cells directly impacts your health. But there are even more negatives of getting less sleep. For example, lack of sleep is a key factor determining Alzheimer's in the older age. During deep sleep, your brain uses something like a cleaning system. It washes away toxic proteins, including beta amyloid, a sticky substance that is linked to the Alzheimer's disease. Without getting enough sleep, those toxins pile up, like trash when left uncleaned, and this increases the risk of dementia and losing memory later in your life. Also, constant sleep deprivation increases the likelihood of thinning and blockage of coronary arteries, leading to cardiovascular disease, stroke, and congestive heart failure. This happens because when you're sleep deprived, your stress hormones stay high, increasing your blood pressure. Over time, it damages and narrows your arteries, making them stiff and clogged. That's why every time when we annually move the time 1 hour ahead, the amount of deaths linked to the cardiovascular diseases raises drastically on that day, while on the day when the time goes back, we see the opposite of that. This is the biggest proof of the statement that sleep deprivation leads to the cardiovascular diseases and even death. Imagine all those negative consequences on the top of constantly being tired. Isn't it already a big enough motivation of finally set up your schedule and make sure to get 7+ hours of sleep every day? Now let's talk about sleep schedule and why is it important to keep it constant. The answer for this question is simple: circadian rhythm. It's the body's 24-hour clock that tells you when to feel awake or sleepy. But it also regulates important functions of our body, including hormones, digestion, body temperature, and brain performance. If you constantly change your sleeping schedule, like sleeping late on the weekends, your body feels like it's in a different time zone, like a mini jet lag. This misalignment throws off many systems. For example, your reaction times goes down, memory and focus drop, and emotional control weakens. For example, you can feel more sad, stressed, or irritated for no reason. Moreover, since our hormones are directly linked to this rhythm, the inconsistency with the cycle makes it harder to fall asleep, increases the food cravings, and reduces the recovery of the muscles and the body overall. That was it on the basics of the sleep. I hope it gave you some important information. So now let's move on to the next topic, nutrition. When talking about balanced diet, a lot of people think hitting just a protein goal or excluding bad foods. But my approach is different. By that term, I mean consuming the right amount of protein, carbs, and fats, the macronutrients, but also don't neglect your micronutrients like vitamins and minerals. Let's start with the protein. Why is it important? Consuming the right amount of protein supports your muscle recovery and growth. That's what you hear all over the gym talk. But its benefits actually are so much wider than just muscles. For example, a 2024 study showed that in adults, higher protein intake was associated with better episodic memory and overall cognition. And some other reviews suggest that a high protein diet will help you to increase the satiety and energy regulation. It means that the high protein diet will help you with weight loss if it's something you're interested in. Now to the next topic. Carbohydrates. Nowadays, a lot of people are demonizing them and promoting excluding them from your diet. And usually they think and talk about the simple carbs, sugar. But in reality, the situation is much deeper. The complex carbs actually help to lower the risk of some heart diseases and stroke. And fiber, which also falls under category of carbs, may protect against type 2 diabetes and obesity. And now, last but definitely not the least one, fats. A lot of people avoid them because of the higher calorie concentration compared to the other macronutrients, but I cannot emphasize enough how important they are for our body, especially for females. Just a quick note. When I talk about the benefits of fats, I mean the unsaturated fats. The saturated ones should be consumed in moderation, while the trans fats definitely should be avoided. In our bodies, fats are essential for production of estrogen and testosterone and absorption of vitamins A, D, E, and K. Moreover, the omega-3 fatty acids, which you will find in some fishes or egg yolks, support the brain function, memory, and cognitive performance. And here is a simple formula to determine the needs of the macros specifically for you. Now let's move to the macronutrients, the vitamins and minerals. But before you run to the CVS to get the supplements I'm going to talk about, stop! Supplementation should be personalized and advised by the blood work and doctors. Overconsumption can be harmful and the long term of megadoses aren't well studied. Since there are just so many vitamins and macronutrients, I'm not going to cover all of them. But there is some common deficiency, especially in women nowadays, that I just cannot skip it in this part, the iron deficiency. It can make your life horrible. You will feel sleepy and lazy all the time. And the reason behind that is that iron is required for hemoglobin and oxygen transport. The last habit that I'm going to cover today is directly tied to productivity. Multitasking is one of the greatest myths of productivity. How often do you find yourself putting a video on the background while doing your homework? Maybe checking your Insta page every time you're stuck on an assignment? At the moment, it definitely feels relieving, but does it actually help? No. That's the only correct answer to this question. While you think you're capable of paying attention to multiple things at the same time, in reality, your brain just switches your attention from one to another. It creates a switching costs such as performance loss, longer completion times, poor accuracy, and worse memory. Some of you may contradict me right now, saying that, oh, I can easily clean the apartment while watching a show in the background. Isn't it an example of successful multitasking? Well, no. In most cases, our brain cannot solve two complex things at the same time. This is possible only when two tasks do not compete with each other for the mental resources of a person. Listening to music while driving a regular route, washing dishes while talking to a person, or cleaning your apartment while watching a video in the background. All those examples from the list cannot be considered as multitasking, since one of the actions is completed automatically, simply because we're used to do that. Trying to solve homework and scrolling on TikTok definitely doesn't fall under that category, since the direct attention is required for both of the tasks. So, doing that will definitely affect your productivity. That was the video, guys. I hope you learned a lot of new information and are ready to change your life and stick to the new habits. The only advice I would like to give you at this point is start adding them to your life gradually, just to not overwhelm yourself. And then you won't even notice how fast you will become a better and healthier version of yourself. Drop in the comments which fact surprised you the most, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video. Bye!